In this final segment of PNG Tonight, we hear again from Dr. Stephen Bogosia, a kidney specialist. He spoke about the increasing cases of kidney-related diseases in Papua New Guinea. Kidney, obviously, like Papua New Guinea, has many diseases, and kidney obviously is one of them. Tell us how severe it is, Papua New Guineans, how much of Papua New Guineans are affected by this disease?
Okay, that's it's a real growing concern in the country. Since the 80s, late 70s, up until the 90s, the trend of kidney disease has been, you see, kidney disease is an end result of insulting factors that have gone on over the years. And there are many insulting factors.
People insulting themselves,
yes,
in what they do,
in what they do.
eat. And
that's right, that's right.
Okay.
In the past, we noticed that it was purely infection. People have infection through the urinary tract, and eventually it follows up when they don't seek treatment early. And it eventually involves the kidneys, and the kidneys become sick, and they fail as a result, and people develop kidney disease. Okay. Back then, there were also problems with stones. You may have heard of people who talked about they had stones in the kidneys.
Kidney stones.
This was the other commonest cause back in the 80s, 90s. Recently, since the 95 up to 2000 and onward, there's been a dramatic change in the thing that has caused kidneys to fail, the insulting factor. It's changed from being infection and stone, and now we're seeing that diabetes now accounts for almost 90% of the cause. Okay. Diabetes and hypertension probably 7 to 10% now. And it's a real worrying trend with, currently in Port Moresby, and I would say around PNG, because we're getting the same.
Okay, let's go to the step by step here. I suppose diabetes, you hear about it now more than you ever did. What causes that? How do we get diabetes?
Okay, diabetes comes mostly from sugar, and that is processed sugar that is within food that we take in, we consume. In the past, we also had, vegetables and certain things in the gardens which had sweet stuff in them as well. But those were natural sugars which were meant for the body and didn't cause harm to the body, as compared with what we get today in processed food stuff like soft drinks, cakes that we get out of the shops, and some more ice creams, and many of the processed food.
Okay, so but our bodies do need sugar, don't they? But we are taking it too much, too excessive, is it?
Sure. Our bodies also need sugar. It's a normal form of energy that the body uses. It converted it eventually into energy for us to use. I mean, if you're hungry, you start sweating and you can't think straight, and you need food. Obviously, we need food, and sugar is that source that we get our energy from. Okay. Now, too much of it is actually bad. And what happens is when you put in too much, the body doesn't know how to use the excess, you see. So the excess is left to roam around freely in the bloodstream. And when you have the excess roaming in the bloodstream, it can do very, very bad things to the body.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you get rid of it? Exercise? What do you do?
Okay. There are many ways of controlling it by way of saying, like to manage it, if you want to manage sugar problems in the country or get rid of it. Firstly, it's about what you put in. You have to start thinking about the initial process where it starts off.
That's
by eating.
Insult you were talking
That's
about.
right now. Okay. So what you eat is the initial thing that you have to worry about. If you put in too much, how are you going to get rid of it? Okay, once it's in the bloodstream, some people get into the bloodstream. We've seen that things like exercise and plenty of water nowadays have been, and by far I think it's exercise. If you really cannot control it by diet, then there's the other bit that you can actually burn off. Mind you, excess sugar can also be converted into fat that can be stored under the skin. And one way which I encourage patients who come and see me is to do exercises at least up to an hour every day to burn off through sweat. So that's one good way of burning it. Yeah.
All right. You mentioned hypertension. How does that link to kidney failure and things like that?
Okay, very good. Hypertension has its own unique way of doing it. The sugar, how sugar does is, sugar burns the kidney bed where you do most of your cleaning happens. But hypertension is from sheer pressure. When you have a lot of stress, and I mean, mind you, stress is one factor, but the food that we eat also tends to accumulate in the bloodstream and cause problems. Sugar and salt, they also accumulate in there, and they cause the body to hold back a lot of water where we should urinate out or sweat it out. So they increase the volume. And when the volume increases in the body, the pressure starts to rise within the system. And I'll give you a good analog, like if you see a flooded river, when it goes towards the embankment, sometimes it has a tendency to cut into the edge of the embankment.
Right.
When you have too much water in the body, it becomes like a raging water going through the body. And when it reaches the kidney bed, it can do very bad things in the kidney by damaging up the kidney cells.
It's almost frightening.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So, are we in trouble in Papua New Guinea with kidney failures and kidney troubles?
From the patients that are coming into the hospital, from where I work, I'm also a consultant at Pomgen.
Okay.
And when we do our admissions at night, out of, say, 10 admissions we get in a night, 4 cases or up to 5 can be diabetic. And that's almost half of the admissions. And it's not like what we've seen in the past. In the past, we probably get nothing, or probably get 1 or 2, but now we've gone past that. We're almost going up to 50%. And the ones that come in, it's very difficult to manage because they come in very sick. And diabetes is actually, diabetes along with hypertension, is actually becoming a very, very big problem in NCD, not NCD alone. We're getting the same report from Lay. We're getting it from all the other centers, and it's really worrying.
So where the scale is in the red already with this disease in the country?
I'll give you an example of our clinics, which I made a mention on Sunday as well while we were on the walk. We used to get about 20 patients in the morning. Tuesday is usually our diabetic clinic day.
Yeah.
And we see between 20 from 9 to 12. That has changed from 2000. We are now getting almost 80 to 90 patients. We have to see within a span of 3 hours.
Wow.
That's so much. Sometimes I walk out of the clinic, feeling sorry, but at the same time, exhausted myself. Yeah.
Well, what about doctors? Do you have more of you to help with this?
I think the medical school is producing enough doctors. That's one of my concerns as well, out there.
Yeah.
But I would at this point maybe make a mention that there are many doctors now out in the field,
Sure.
but the prerogative probably has to go back to the government of the day. You have to create positions within the hospital.
And
that's another thing.
Yeah. It's a whole ball game on the one side here, I suppose. So, given that trend, given that frightening trend, if you will, what can you say as a doctor, as a Papua New Guinean, to your government right now?
I have done the diabetic clinic over the number of years, and one thing that's really, really stand out for me is in the country we really have no national diabetic group set up by the government or a task force to attack this problem. And I think I asked that question several times last year, this year, and I have yet to see a properly established diabetic task force for the country to tackle this issue. And I would really love to see the government get into lifestyle problems. So far now, I haven't seen the government make much effort in the lifestyle area.
Dr. Stephen Bogosia. This has been PNG Tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with another edition at the same time tomorrow. Good night.